Right, so a week ago tomorrow, I put the poll, Sauron with the ring versus Gandalf or Olorin, or if Gandalf the White has unrestricted powers, just Gandalf in the same form as Sauron, both unrestricted. And finally now I do have a conclusive answer after a lot of lore and about read unfinished tales and whatnot, but I'll just go through it. So here we pretty much are now. So we're now at Gandalf, because I went kind of through all the different ages of Sauron, back when he was known as Mehron, and same with Olorin and what we knew of them both in back in the day, you know. And then so we're on the third age now, and we're going like Gandalf the White versus what I call the second birth of Sauron. And Sauron in the third age, as I previously said in the last video, was weaker than he had been in the second age, and far weaker than he had been as Mehron. This would mean that in the third age he was also weaker than Olorin, as Olorin was equal to Mehron, which it says in the Unfinished Tales. This is a quote from Tolkien's letters. When he found how greatly his knowledge was admired by all other rational creatures, and how easy it was to influence them, his pride became boundless. By the end of the second age, he assumed the position of Morgoth's representative. By the end of the third age, though actually much weaker than before, he claimed to be Morgoth returned. So that's a pretty big claim, and Sauron in the second age was far stronger than Morgoth was at the end of the first, but not only than Morgoth was at the start of the first. When Gandalf returned as Gandalf the White, it was with all access to his powers as the Mayor Olorin. That's at least what I have gathered from notes and what Tolkien has said. But Gandalf still, he used his wisdom. He had his wisdom to know when to use them or not, and they were at last cost. As obviously he knew about the War of Wrath, which happened in the first age. Sauron, however, was still acting under the restrictions of diminishing and the loss of the ring. Since they were equal in their beginnings, Olorin and Mehron in pre-creation, in the Undying Lands, I would say that the effects of the diminishing at this point would be so great on Sauron. Got the ring, he would be lesser in power to Gandalf, or rather Olorin, or Gandalf the White. That's not to say that Gandalf would be able to win the war single-handedly, as this is obviously not the case. But if it was just Gandalf versus Sauron without the ring, Gandalf would easily win for me. Would easily win. With the ring, I'll go for a few quotes just from the books and whatnot. This isn't from the Two Towers. I am Gandalf the White, but black is mightier still. This passage does not mention either Gandalf or Sauron's spirit, as some of the earlier quotes talking about, and that I was talking about did. It is taken in interpretation Sauron's full strength and all the resources at his command. He had vast armies of orcs, trolls, and foul fucking things. Not to mention all of his allies with all the evil men had routed him and whatnot. The statement is also prior to Helm's Deep, the victory at Helm's Deep. So that's, well, that kind of already says enough. So between Saruman and Sauron, they should have been able to crush any opposition. They were both black. But you know, Sauron does not share power. Gandalf, on the other hand, was the only white mayor left. Sauron returned to evil. Radagast was just, I think, a mission, but we don't know anything of that. That's just what I like to believe, really. Normally he failed, and the two blue wizards were fucking AWOL, mate. Though I do have some theories that they were to do with the sorcery in the east, or Saruman did kill them, or they just fucked off. You know, a lot of Mare, a lot of even one Valar. Tom Bombadil's probably Uru, maybe, or there's a lot of people who've come to Middle-earth and preferred to stay there. A lot of elves didn't leave at the end of the Third Age, not until Daggoroth anyway. So Gandalf on like, you look at Sauron's huge army, fucking ridiculous, so huge, 20 times at least bigger, if not more. Gandalf on the other hand was the only white mare left. Sauron had turned to evil. Radagast was useless, and the two blue wizards were fucking, it got on the runner. So he had only the help of a few human nations who were far weaker than Sauron and Saruman's armies. So white was less than black, if you think about it in not just a personal comparison. But even if one does want to choose to not interpret it this way, there's still a large amount of evidence written by Tolkien after he wrote this that it's quite probable that he did change his opinion after writing LOTR. So here's another quote. Very nearly it, the ring, was revealed to the enemy, but it escaped. I had some part in that, for I sat in a high place and I strove with the dark tower, and the shadow passed. So this is when, while Gandalf the White was tired after doing this, he not only prevented Sauron from finding the ring while Frodo had it on, but he also posed enough of a challenge to Sauron that Sauron chose to retreat from the confrontation despite having found the ring. Considering how desperate Sauron was to find it, the fact that he was forced to withdraw speaks volumes. Sauron was outmatched by Gandalf. With the ring, he might or might not have won. It is more likely that he would have just been able to stand his ground. This was also with Gandalf the White not using enough of his power to destroy any of the land. If he had gone full fucking force, he might have defeated Sauron right then. But that would have been at the expense of Middle-earth. Tolkien also writes in his letters that after Gandalf was reborn as Gandalf the White, his powers were augmented by Uru, because he alone among the Astari passed the moral test to be worthy. If he was rebuilt was stronger than he was as Olorin, which is a possibility, then he would also be stronger than what Sauron was at the beginning. After that amount of diminishing he went through, Sauron could be arguably less powerful than he was as Mairon. The end of letter 246, which I actually have a copy in front of me now, Tolkien wrote about a theoretical fight in which Gandalf took possession of the One Ring and challenged Sauron in one-on-one combat. This is quotation here. Of the others, only Gandalf might be expected to master him, being a missionary of the powers and a creature of the same order, an immortal spirit taking a physical form. Confrontation of Sauron alone, unaided south to south, was not contemplated by Elrond or Galadriel. One can imagine a scene in which Gandalf, say, was placed in such a position. It would be a delicate balance. On one side, the true allegiance of the ring to Sauron. On the other, superior strength because Sauron was not actually in possession, and perhaps also because he was weakened by long corruption and expenditure of will in dominating inferiors. If Gandalf proved the victor, the result would have been for Sauron the same as destruction of the ring. For him, it would have been taken from him forever. But the ring and all its works would have endured. He would have been the master in the end. Gandalf as the Ring Lord would have been far worse than Sauron. He would have remained righteous, but self-righteous. He would have continued to rule and order things for good, and the benefit of his subjects according to his wisdom, which was and would have remained great. The passage, so that was all to quote Tolkien directly from a letter. That passage does not say Gandalf could use the ring in this fight. If it is probable he could only use it after he defeated Sauron, so this perhaps might be referring to just Gandalf's strength as Olorin being greater than Sauron without the ring. This is reiterated by the fact that Tolkien specifically stated that Sauron would not have to fear the ring, even if it was in possession of another. as the Nazgul did. Only once it was lost to him forever would it be a threat. So in other words, if he was able to keep the Ring of Power from Sauron, he would be greater in strength than Sauron, who was weakened due to not having the ring and due to being diminished. Sauron's only chance would be that he was the true Lord of the Ring, so he could use it to undermine Gandalf even if Gandalf was not actually using the ring, only had it in his possession. Without his spirit, Sauron would likely have been overwhelmed by Gandalf's full strength as an unchecked mayor fucking spirit. If he had got the ring, he would still have needed his armies to complete his dominion of Middle-earth. Gandalf, however, still restrained himself for the most part, so as not to disobey his orders again and destroy the land. He had no way to get Sauron on his own, as even when Sauron matched wills, he always retreated before he could lose. So a one-on-one fight, while it was probable it would have gotten Gandalf the White's favour with or without the ring, assuming Gandalf didn't hold back at all, this just was not plausible. The power of Sauron is still less than fear makes it. This is mostly hypothetical, as Tolkien rarely compared one being's strength with another. He also measured power in many other ways than strictly battle prowess. The long timeline during which he created the world meant he also had different opinions along the way, and some of those opinions were only lately expressed by his son Christopher. There is also likely some evidence I have overlooked, but I do think that without the ring, Gandalf would definitely win. Gandalf the White with the ring, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think it's a question that may never be answered. But Tolkien does give some hints, and it's not that ridiculous to say Sauron with the ring. If he had attained it in the books, then Gandalf couldn't have beat him. So, you know, and Gandalf, you know, without powers did beat him without the ring anyway. So, to me, Gandalf, being the wisest for the mayor is the best. You know, that wins. So yeah. Next video I'm gonna do is gonna be on there'll be a poll who to choose. Just check my Facebook. Just type in Fantasy Shire.